Brianna Iglesias. I work for the Micronesia Mall Theaters, also known as Theaters, and my current job position right now is Marketing Apprentice. So that entails hand-on experience while also getting paid. So it's not an internship where it's just experience, you actually get paid for your work here. The school I came from, I graduated from Ukuru High School, year 2020, woohoo, best year. COVID year. If you're planning to take it through the Guam Community College, there is a marketing GCC program throughout the 3 years, so you do get experience already. And then if you plan to take it just regularly through the GCC program, some of the classes that are there also include things like business management, sales, retail. You also learn about things like international marketing, research, communications, just so that you have a basic understanding of getting into the field of marketing.
So how did you get into the field, and what do you like best about your job?
So I got into the field. I originally studied lodging and management in high school. When the pandemic happened, I thought maybe it's not a good idea to be into the tourism industry. So I had a friend who introduced me to visual communications, which is more graphics. Then my professor recommended, hey, if you want to be more employable, why don't you take marketing as well? Because usually the people who do the graphics also work in marketing. I was like, you know what, might as well do it. And I did both degrees. I was studying simultaneously, and then I got an internship in just graphics and then in marketing. So if you do plan on being here, they're always looking for people who can do more than just one thing.
That's right.
So for the hard skills, the most important thing, especially in a job like marketing, is you have to make sure you know how to use the programs. So that includes things like being able to use graphics programs and creative programs like Adobe, Affinity. You also have to know how to use communication programs like the Google Suite to communicate for things like advertisers, and as well as your superiors if they want to look over your work. And then you also, for hard skills, you're also going to want to learn how to use the hardware, because each company is different. Some of them will use a specific type, so some will only use Mac, some will only use PC, some will use a hybrid. So for the hard skills, that's what it entails. I mentioned that you also want to learn how to use social media to its advantages. So I learned how to use the Meta, the business for Facebook, which coincides together since Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same company. They have a specific plan that's just for being able to post the business side of social media, not just personal. For soft skills, probably the most important is problem solving skills. You're always, sometimes the corporate office will just contact my boss and I and say, make an ad for this, and they just don't give us anything. So we just have to problem solve, and that requires also another soft skill, which is research. You're always researching about what other companies are doing, as well as us, and then other international movie theaters.
Question: what subjects do they need in school? So for students that would like to get into a similar career, a job.
If you're going to do marketing, they're always going to look for people who not only can do graphics, but also maybe a little bit of video editing, social media, a little bit of data analysis, so being able to understand the data, like what do the likes mean, what do the shares mean, just knowing the basics of that, as well as technological skills. Be sure you have a bit of media literacy. That doesn't just mean your phone, it also means being able to use the computer. So if you communicate, especially in marketing, you're always going to use a computer, you're always glued to your desk. So you need to be able to communicate not only with others, but IT. Sometimes IT will come in and be like, do you have this? Do you need this? And I can communicate with them if something's wrong, and then they'll understand on their end. So it's not just, I'm not just talking to a wall. I actually do a lot of writing in English, and also for example, you're writing a lot of captions for social media, or you're doing contract negotiations with sponsors. So make sure you have good English, make sure autocorrect is always on, and have someone peer review your work. You're also going to do a bit of math, just basic math, nothing crazy. Just be able to know, being able to express what the numbers mean. So for social media, we did a campaign for the plane ticket flyaway giveaway, and I had to make a presentation to show the corporate office like how much the promotions actually made us more visible. So being able to see, being able to break down what the numbers meant.
Okay, so what are some advice that you would have for those that are interested in getting into your field of marketing?
I'd say probably the biggest thing is to always learn. Try not to be behind in what's actually popular and trending, because it can really make a difference in the second point, which is trying to streamline your process. So especially in a field like marketing, a lot of things change with technology or some of the usage. For example, I made a brochure to promote the theaters when I first started, and I suggested, hey, let's use a QR code, and no one knew. I was like, guys, we can make it so much easier for everyone if instead of having to do that and print it out. I even suggested, hey, let's use Google Forms when we were doing some other events. Probably the biggest advice is just make sure you know what's out there, and then you'll be able to streamline your process, making it so much easier. Another thing is never stop learning. Always try to, like what you learn from studying what's popular, and always suggest it bringing up to the team, because it really does make a difference in putting your name out there. Like I suggested for the company, I looked at the previous social media posts when I first started. Hey, let's do Instagram carousels, because they're a lot more interactive in comparison to doing a 1-by-1 regular post. And when I did it and I created the design and I sent it out to the team, a lot of them gave feedback to my boss saying, this is so cool, this is so nice. So just don't be afraid to try something new and introduce it to your team. Yeah, and then the last one I would suggest is try and get hands-on experience as much as possible. So especially if you do plan to go the college route with GCC, or maybe talk to someone who's already in the field, or ask somebody who maybe runs their own business, because being able to see it or hear it versus seeing it firsthand really does make a difference. So I knew about a lot of the streamline process because I did a bunch of in-school events, and we were in charge of certain tasks. So I learned about what went right and what went wrong with those events. So I was able to introduce it to my boss, and then we do it here now at the theaters. So it's a lot easier now.
That's great. So you had that practice.
Yeah, I had the practice ahead of time. So I was grateful for the experience.
Those are real world experiences that they provide for you. That's awesome. Yay. And one last question.
Yes.
Who is your favorite middle school teacher at Estumba Middle School?
Mrs. Paulino. She's my auntie, guys.
Yeah. Best student. All right. Thank you for this interview.